Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Week 5's edition of the Philly Sports Eagles pregame show, brought to you by SeatGeek. Use code Philly Sports, save $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Sam, welcome to Week 5 of the NFL season. This week has felt kind of put in the shadow, thank you to the Philadelphia Phillies, but we are playing a football game today. The Eagles are in beautiful SoFi Stadium taking on the 2-2 Rams. I am Benjamin Goldston. I'm joined by Sam Hines. Sam, how are we doing here on Sunday afternoon?
I'm doing great. Still riding off that high of the Phillies win last night, hoping to move it into an Eagles win today, move to 5-0, and then carry it into another Phillies win tomorrow. But I think you're right. A lot of people have forgotten about the Eagles this week. Jeez, we keep saying Phillies. Forgotten about the Eagles this week with a little bit of a lesser opponent on their hands, and the Phillies being so hot. But the Eagles sure have not forgotten about the Rams.
That's for sure. I woke up today and I was like, oh, wait, the Eagles play a football game today. It's kind of still a big deal, still something we need to remember. This is going to be a good matchup today. I feel like this might be one of the tougher ones for the Eagles, but they have something to prove today. In Week 5, it'll be Matthew Stafford against Jalen Hurts at the quarterback matchup, which will start with Hurts. This season, he is 4-0. He has 959 passing yards, a completion percentage of 67.7, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He had a passer rating of 92.4, with 134 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. We saw a very good-looking Jalen Hurts last week. He didn't turn the ball over. He had a few touchdown passes. He looked very good. Was last week the best Jalen Hurts has been all season?
I think the first thing you mentioned there, that he didn't turn the ball over, was one of the biggest improvements. It's not like him to turn the ball over a lot, but to start this season so far, he has been doing that. But last week, he kept the ball out of the opponent team's hands. And I think definitely that last week was the biggest and best game by Jalen so far this season. I think you saw a lot of quick decisions. I think you saw a lot of reading the defense well. I think you saw a lot of accurate passing, especially going deep. Him and A.J. Brown seem to be on absolute fire right now, seem to be on the exact same page, which is great. And I thought one of the biggest things was moving the ball down the field through the air. One of the things that made this team so great and explosive last year was their ability to move the ball through the air down the field on these chunk plays, these big explosive plays. The Eagles have their own stat that they made up where they keep track of explosive plays by however they want to measure that. And last week you saw a ton of explosive plays. The controversial decision to take the touchdown with AJ last week, the other amazing AJ run, a few run and catch, a few other great passes down the field to AJ, an amazing play by Devontae going up and getting the ball, making an amazing catch. But Jalen put that in an opportunity for him to go get it. So I think that was definitely a super positive sign for Hurts in the passing game of, hey, it's okay. We're back. We're getting back into our groove. And they built on the Tampa win where they started to look better. And then now, with last week against the Commanders, it seems like now they may be fully back.
Yeah, but there's always room for improvement. How can Jalen Hurts in this passing game improve, coming off a big win last week going into LA?
My biggest thing that I want to see them improve from a passing game standpoint is I would love to see them get everybody involved. It seems like so far this season it's been one guy each game. Dallas Goedert does not have over 100 yards receiving so far this season, which just doesn't even seem real. If I told you that, oh yeah, one of the Eagles tight ends has 88 yards, I think it is 86 yards receiving this season, you would say it's Jack Stoll or Grant Calcaterra. You would never assume that it was Dallas Goedert. So I think one of the things that people are going to start to try to do with this Eagles offense is to try to just take away the one guy that's going hot and then see if Jalen can kind of spread the ball around, because one of the knocks on Jalen in the past is that he hasn't been able to really read defense and progress through his reads. Obviously, A.J. Brown is this team's number one wide receiver, so a lot of the plays are going to have him as the number one option, and then Devontae is the 2, and then OZ or Quez, and then over to Goddard. Obviously, different plays call for different things, but that's going to be what it is the majority of the time. So I think one of the things moving forward that we can see this offense improve on is just spreading the ball around a little more, getting everyone else involved, just to become a little bit more multiple in the passing game, and just so that way we've seen AJ show signs of frustration when not getting the ball. Devontae and Dallas haven't shown that, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen if it keeps continuing. Obviously, winning is the most important thing, but you don't want to be a one man show on offense. And I think just kind of spreading the ball around, and I think that's going to start today.
Would hope so. You're talking about starting today. What should we expect from Jalen Hurts and the offense in today's matchup?
I think today needs to be another big offensive performance. The Rams defense is not very good. They've traded away a lot of players. They've lost a lot of players just because of their financial and draft situation. They haven't made a first round draft pick since 2016 with Jared Goff, which for all our Eagles fans out there, to put that in perspective, imagine if the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz in 2016 like they did and had not made a first round pick after that. That is absolutely insane. So they've been not able to really fill the talent around Matthew Stafford and, well, I guess in this case on the defense, Aaron Donald. They obviously do still have Aaron Donald, who's the first ballot Hall of Famer, probably one of the best 3 defensive tackles of all time when it's all said and done. But I think it does need to be a big game for this offense, as I do think the defense is going to give up some points today. The Rams have a really good offense, and the Eagles need to probably win somewhat of a shootout today. So I think the Eagles need to take advantage of the talentless Rams defense and really just keep what they're doing, keep moving the ball, and I think it's going to be a big game through the air.
Just go off into the NFL world really quick. Daniel Jones has just been ruled out for the rest of the game as he just went into the locker room. He has a neck injury. So more bad breaks for the New York Giants. I mean, not that Daniel Jones is very good or anything, but he is. You did just pay him a lot of money, and now he has a neck injury and he's done for today. And who knows how long he'll be out for?
Yeah, obviously you never want to see anybody leave the game with any type of head or neck injury, and just hopefully Daniel Jones is doing all right, and the Giants are not having a good start to their season, and this is just going to compile on top of them what's already been a bad start.
Yeah, I thought the Giants were going to be better than the Cowboys this year. I thought the Giants were going to be up there kind of with and not as good as the Eagles, but they were going to get in that playoff spot at the wild card, get this 2 seed in the NFC East. I had a lot of faith in Daniel Jones and Saquon, but man, they have really just fallen apart. They scored their first half touchdown today, and it was a 102-yard pick six. So the offense still hasn't gotten a touchdown in the first half. But it's just falling off the rails for them. And as an Eagles fan, it's good to see. But Giants,
I know this isn't a Giants pregame show, but I do think that the little sidetrack here, I think that Brian Dable needs to be held a lot more responsible than he is. I think he got the coach of the year last year because the Giants are a bad team that won a lot of close games against bad teams. If you look at the Giants' record from week 8 on last year, they were not good. And they obviously showed against the Eagles in the playoffs that they're not ready to win, and we're not ready to win. And I think that them making the playoffs was one of the worst things that could have happened for that organization, because they had their process sped up to where they weren't ready to win, and now they're trying to fulfill those expectations their fans have had. And Dable can be mad at Daniel Jones all he wants, but he also needs to, I think, take a bit of the heat here, because he's the reigning coach of the year. He's not some first year guy anymore. And he holds a lot of blame for the bad start as well as Daniel Jones, because if you can't create an offense without a running back in there, that's a lot on you as well. I know their wide receivers aren't great, but if their running back goes out, your offense shouldn't completely fall apart. So,
there you go. Back to the Eagles. What's more important here? So the Rams defense, they obviously have a first ballot Hall of Famer in there. Everything else, but what fears you the most in the Rams defense to go up against the Eagles offense today?
Aaron Donald, plain and simple, 2 words, one guy, Aaron Donald. A lot of people thought that he might retire last season. A lot of people thought that he might retire after winning the Super Bowl. He's kind of in that Jason Kelsey stage where he's not as old as Kelsey, I don't believe, but he's kind of in that stage where whenever he wants to walk away, it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to do anything more to prove that he's one of those, first ballot Hall of Fame guys. And he can still be a complete game wrecker. And I think one of the big things is Cam Jurgens being out today and placed on IR. Obviously, Kelsey is the best center in the NFL still, another first ballot Hall of Famer. So that'll be for interior line nuts. That'll be a great matchup to keep your eyes on as much as you can without, missing a bunch of plays. But I think that with Cam out, the Rams might try to move Donald around a little bit more to try to get that matchup with Opeta, but then it falls back on Kelsey and I'm blanking on the Eagles offensive line coach name, Jeff Stoutland.
Just Stoutland.
To send help over to Sua Opeta's side with Kelsey. So while Stoutland has done a great job against Donald in the past, and he's never really wrecked a game against the Eagles, the Rams do not have really any other pass rushers, especially on the outside. And like I said, they traded away Jalen Ramsey this offseason. Their back end of their defense is not good. They're just on the defense as a whole. They don't have a ton of talent. So if there is one guy that's going to really wreck this game from a defensive standpoint for the Rams, it's definitely Donald.
All right, turning over to the offensive side for the Rams, Matthew Stafford, the Super Bowl winning quarterback just a few years ago. His Rams are 2-2. He has 1,229 passing yards through 4 weeks. That's a completion percentage of 62% flat. That's 3 touchdowns. He's had 5 interceptions. Passer rating of 78.1. He has 49 rushing yards and 0 rushing touchdowns. What have you seen from Matt Stafford in 2023 with the Rams offense?
So last year, coming off that Super Bowl win, a lot of people just kind of wrote off Matt Stafford because he got injured and wasn't really playing well at all. And the Rams were just a complete dumpster fire last year. But he's had a nice bounce back season. One of the biggest things that stands out with his stats that you just read right there is the 5 interceptions, so only 3 touchdowns. He has been prone this season, at least, to put the ball in harm's way. He's got a great arm. He's got great arm talent. And I think that he's still in that stage of his career where he can't fit every throw in anymore, but he still believes he can. So he's putting balls in harm's way just because he used to be able to make a few more tight window throws than he is being able to make right now. One of the biggest things, though, with Stafford is he was injured last week. He has a hip injury. He's going to be playing through it today. He never really was an extremely mobile quarterback, but especially now with the hip injury, he's going to be less mobile, so he's going to be more of a sitting duck back there for the Eagles' defensive line. So I think that one of the biggest things for the Eagles' defense against Matt Stafford today is definitely to get to him early and make him feel them. But as far as Stafford, I don't know if anyone saw this about the offseason. His wife came out and talked about how he had a little bit of trouble connecting with all the younger guys on the team. Stafford's been in the league a long time. He was one of the oldest guys to make their first playoffs and all that a few years ago. So, a little bit of off the field issues that he's had. Just he hasn't really been able to find his way with a bunch of the new Rams guys. But he is getting Cooper Kupp back today. And I think one of the biggest things for Stafford is he's definitely returned a little bit to form. He looks a lot better than he did last year, but he is playing injured and he has turned the ball over a lot this year. So the Eagles are definitely going to have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, but as you said, he is getting Cooper Kupp. He won the Super Bowl MVP when they won, right?
Yep.
So former Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp returns for that Rams offense today. What does that mean for the Birds?
I think it's terrible for the Eagles. I mean, Mr. Obvious over here, but Cooper Kupp is a great wide receiver. It's his first game back this year, so, I don't expect that he's going to go out and have 150 receiving yards like he does most games. But he is a great wide receiver. He's great on the short routes. He's great at after the catch. He's a great possession receiver. And the Eagles' biggest weakness on their team right now is their passing defense. Sam Howell, who is not very good, and we saw that against the Bills, and then we saw that again on Thursday Night Football. Sam Howell is not very good at this point of his career. He carved up the Eagles secondary, and so is just about every other quarterback they've played this season. Mac Jones is on the brink of being benched for Bailey Zappi or one of the other guys they just brought in. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. We know who he is. But these guys have all – Baker Mayfield was the one that they were able to shut down. But just about every quarterback they have faced has really torn them up. And we've seen some wide receivers have some really big games against them. So I think that one of the biggest things is limiting Kupp. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play. I didn't see if he's going to be a full go or limited. But they do have a rookie star, Puka Nacua, who has the most
name.
Yeah, great name. Has the most receiving yards by a rookie through his first 4 games in NFL history. He's halfway to 1,000 yards already, which is just ridiculous. Only 4 games in, quarter of the season, halfway to 1,000 yards. He stays on this pace, he's going to break Megatron's record. So the Eagles' passing defense needs to be a lot better today and hold Kupp and Nacua in place.
All right, so the Rams getting back Cooper Kupp. They have another great receiver. The Rams' offense seems to be very good against the good Eagles defense. Big game for the defense to prove themselves. What should we expect from the Rams' offense today going up against the proven Eagles defense?
The Eagles' defense has been great at stopping the run so far this season, and the Rams' offense has been bad at running the ball, so I don't know how much they're really going to try it. One thing, though, that we will get to later with the injury report, but the Eagles are missing a couple guys on the defensive line who would be more able to stop the run. Oh, excuse me. So they may be more inclined to try it a little bit, try to run up the middle a little more. But I really expect them to try to test these young players in the Eagles secondary. I think that they're going to try to get Nacua in one-on-one matchups or with matchups with if Job is out there, try to get him lined up over there. Definitely try to get Kupp lined up across from Job if he's going to be playing out there today. Take advantage of the weaknesses in the Eagles' safeties, the inexperience out there. Blankenship's played really well, but the guys that they've rotated in at that other safety spot have not. So I just think that they're really going to try to air it out today and use their wide receivers to take advantage of the Eagles' different matchups. And if Bradley Roby, I know he got elevated, but if he's going to be out there at the slot, they're definitely going to put Kupp in the slot. He's great when he's on the outside. He's also great when he's on the inside. Nacua can play on the inside a lot too. So the Rams aren't really a team where you can follow a wide receiver as much because you're going to put yourself in a little bit of a disadvantage pushing some guys to the outside when they go in. But I definitely think the Rams are going to try to air it out today.
All right, we look at some. You mentioned some earlier, some position advantages that the Eagles have on the Rams. What are those?
So I think the first position advantage the Eagles have over the Rams is their D-line versus the Rams' offensive line. The Rams' offensive line is not very good, and while the Eagles have a few injuries on that defensive line, they still are extremely deep, and they can still go even deeper once the game starts. I think that the Eagles' pass rushers on the outside will be able to create some havoc today. Sweat has been kind of cooled off a little bit recently, so expect him to kind of get going a little bit. We saw Hassan Reddick finally make his impact last week, and I think that getting that cast off was huge for him. Now he has a little bit of confidence going. I think he's going to have an impact today. Jalen Carter kind of gets unleashed today with no Fletch and no Marlon Tuipulotu. So he's going to get probably the most snaps on the defensive tackle side. So I think that's the biggest matchup advantage the Eagles have. And then the Eagles wide receivers versus the Rams cornerbacks. The Rams, I've talked a lot about how the Rams wide receivers have good matchups against the young Eagles corners that'll be in there or the inexperienced in this defense corner. I think that A.J. Brown versus Witherspoon we saw last year, he had 3 touchdowns against him when he was on the Steelers. Devontae matched up on the other side. Oz, is Quez playing today? I didn't see if he got elevated.
He is not inactive, so he is active today.
Okay, so Quez and Oz in there as well, but definitely AJ versus Witherspoon. We saw him have a ton of success against them last year, and the Eagles are definitely going to try to scheme that to be a matchup again and try to go deep. So I think another one would definitely be the Eagles wide receivers versus their corners.
All right, notable matchups. You listed a few earlier, especially Jason Kelsey and Aaron Donald. So, what are some notable matchups in today's Week 5 matchups? The Eagles look to stay undefeated.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna kind of double down here. I kind of picked from them already, but definitely Donald versus Kelsey and those other guys, Dickerson and Sua Opeta. If the Eagles are able to shut down Aaron Donald, I think they're gonna have a big day on offense. As long as they keep him in check, they'll be able to run the ball. They'll be able to move the ball through the air. Not really worried about that. Just making sure that he's kept in check. And then I just said it, but I think AJ versus Witherspoon is another massive matchup. If the Eagles are able to move the ball through the air today, I think it is going to be another big AJ day. And I think him versus Witherspoon is definitely one we can take advantage of. And then lastly, I would say Cup versus whoever's in the slot. Like I said earlier, I don't know if Cup's going to be playing all 100% of the snaps right away, but when he's out there, he's an absolute difference maker. And Sean McVay does a great job at scheming a lot of short routes for them to be able to get easy passes, easy catches. So whoever's in the slot today, whether that's Bradbury, whether that's Job, whether that's Goodrich, whether that's Roby, we're not really 100% sure, but they're going to have their hands full for sure.
All right, so there are a lot of Eagles fans in Los Angeles today. A lot of travel groups headed out there, and also you were at Phillies game 1 of the wild card. Now you're back in Florida now, right?
Yes, I left 5:30. We left for the airport the morning after the game. Probably the longest day of my life going right to work. But it was well worth it to see the Phillies get the first win against the Marlins.
And where did you get your ticket?
I won them, actually. Well, I didn't win them. I got them from the Phillies.
You ruined the bit.
I'm sorry. I can't lie. I can't lie. If I didn't get them from the Phillies, I would have gotten them on SeatGeek.
SeatGeek, and that's where I bet a lot of people, where everybody should have gotten their tickets for the Eagles game today and for the rest of the season, is to get them on SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticketing app that makes buying tickets very, very easy. All you got to do is download the SeatGeek app or use code. And download the SeatGeek app, and when you make your purchase for anything, you can buy any sort of tickets on there. Phillies, or baseball, football, farther than football, aka soccer, basketball, hockey, golf, anything you need tickets for, Broadway, anything. You get those on SeatGeek, and at your checkout, use code Philly Sports Report. You can save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. So you got to jump on it. Use that SeatGeek, and the next time Sam flies up for a Phillies game, which I already know he's going to do because it sounded like such a great time with flying over here, he's going to use SeatGeek and use code Philly Sports Report. Right, Sam?
Of course. Here we go. I'll make it up to you right here. So I was looking on SeatGeek actually earlier this morning, and for anyone who's in the South who has nothing to do tomorrow, the Phillies tickets on SeatGeek right now in Atlanta are under $100.
Wow.
Under $100 to go, and you can get great seats too. It's not even just up in the nosebleeds. Like they are decent seats. And then you add our code on top of that, you're paying $70, $60, $50 to go to a Phillies playoff game.
Come on.
Worth a little bit of a drive if you tell me. I mean, it's better, it's better than flying back home, I'll tell you that much.
Are you doing it?
No, it's like 8 hours from me, but if I was closer, I would.
There you go. All right, sticking with SeatGeek. Who are your SeatGeek standout stars for today?
All right, so I'm going to double back around to one of the things I said in the beginning of the show with spreading the ball around. The Rams have done a really bad job defending tight ends so far this year. All the tight ends that have played against the Rams have done a really good job against them. So I think Dallas Goedert is going to get his first touchdown catch of the season, and I think that he might have a big game today. And then my second SeatGeek standout star is going to be Jalen Carter. We're seeing Jalen Carter unleashed for the first time this season with probably not playing 100% of the snaps, but he's going to get a lot of the snaps at defensive tackle. The Rams have a bad offensive line. Matthew Stafford is going to be a statue back there with the hurt hip. And I think Jalen Carter, with the extended snaps on a turf field in a dome, is really going to show us, he's the kind of player we are, and I think he's going to have another breakout game today.
That would be great. Speaking about that banged up defensive line, we look at the inactives for the Eagles today, and one of those is a big name, and it's Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox making his first game since, what was it, 2017. So last time he missed a game, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, so maybe it's a sign. Also inactive for the Eagles today, Sidney Brown, Alberto, Marlon. Oh, how do you say this last name? Do you know how to say Tuipulotu? What a name. Rashad Penny and Tanner McKee. He's the third Eagles quarterback. Those players are inactive today. For the Rams, we're looking at Nick Hampton, the linebacker, then offensive tackle Joe Noteboom. That's a great name, Noteboom. Offensive tackle Zach Thomas, wide receiver Demarcus Robinson, and defensive end DeJuan Johnson. How do those inactives affect the Birds today?
Obviously, the biggest one is Fletch. He's getting up there in age, but he has really been a great player so far this season. Not good, great. He has been amazing. And I think one of the biggest things is you've seen that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter have been able to keep him fresh a little bit. He doesn't need to be out there for all the snaps. So having him miss the game definitely hurts, but I am excited to see how guys like Milton Williams, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis kind of flourish or, falter. They're young players still. It happens against the Rams with more snaps. So I'm really excited to see we get a glimpse into the future of that interior, the defensive line today with no Fletcher.
So speaking of Fletch, getting up in age, how many years do you think he still has left in the tank? Is this the final dance? Is this the last dance?
I feel like for the last 2 years, people have been saying that Fletcher's going to be gone. Him, BG, and Jason Kelsey. But it seems like even though they keep drafting their replacements, they keep sticking around. And as long as Fletch and BG are good with taking a reduced role on the team and understanding that these new guys are kind of coming in. Brandon Graham obviously has done that as he doesn't even start anymore. Fletcher still definitely deserves to start. He's playing like a starter. So until Fletcher Cox is not an Eagle, until Brandon Graham's not an Eagle, until Jason Kelsey's not an Eagle, I'm just going to keep believing that they're going to be and, pencil them in each offseason until they finally just retire, because it seems like these guys aren't going to play for another team.
They certainly won't. Let's look at the lines today. The line just dropped a little bit. I just checked back. It was -4 all day, and they dropped it down to -3.5 for the Eagles. Will they cover, Sam?
Yeah, I have the Eagles covering this game. I do think the Rams are going to put up some points on us today, but I do think that the Eagles are going to put out a good offensive performance, keep the good momentum going, and I think I would definitely take the Eagles with the points today.
All right, over/under is 50.5. Over/under.
I have the over today. I'll skip to my final score. I think the Eagles are going to win 31-24. Obviously, that does cover the before mentioned 3.5. I think one of the reasons that it's tight is because the Eagles are traveling out to the West Coast, but it's going to be like a home game for them out there. I don't really think that affects them that much. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored today.
And what are your locks?
I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier with the standout star. I would definitely take Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown, and I think that A.J. Brown, if you can go and do a receiving yard alt instead of just his over/under, where you can just kind of pick how many receiving yards he has, I think another 100+ day for A.J. Brown could be in the books against Witherspoon. Like I've mentioned all show long, he really had a great game against him last year, and I think he's going to continue that, and him and Jalen are going to continue their hot streak together.
All right, so we're running out of time here, so just give me one key to the game today for the Birds.
So my biggest key today is to get to Matthew Stafford early and often. He's battling through the hip injuries, playing through it. If you get to him early, you put him on that AstroTurf they got out there. I guess it's not AstroTurf anymore, but you put him on that turf they got out there, kind of hit him around. I think he's gonna start turning the ball over a little bit. So that would be my biggest key for sure.
All right. So we have a Super Bowl 52 jersey we're rocking today. What's the fit check today for Mr. Sam Hine out in Florida?
All right, today we are rocking the Chris Long Super Bowl
Wow.
jersey. Chris Long, I think, is one of the most underappreciated Eagles on that Super Bowl team. He currently, after all the teams he's played for, Rams, Patriots, Eagles, he reps the Eagles. He calls himself an Eagle. He said that Philadelphia was one of the only places that he played where he really felt at home, even though it was a short time. I think Chris was a great Eagle for over the 2 years, and it's definitely a cool jersey to have. I love rocking Chris. He's a good dude and always talks extremely highly of Philadelphia and our fans.
Yeah, also has a nice podcast, the Green Light Podcast. Big test for the Eagles today against a very good offense. Is this the toughest test so far this season for the Eagles?
I think just circumstance-wise, yes. The Eagles last year, the biggest knock on their defense was, we never beat a good quarterback until we went up against Patrick Mahomes and we lost. And I think that you can say the exact same thing so far this season. One thing the defense did last year was shut down the bad quarterbacks. This team, while we're winning games, has not shut down bad quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback we're going to be facing so far this season. Even though it's going to be like an Eagles home game with all the fans out there, cross-country road trip. A lot of people are saying this. I don't believe it, but with all the focus on the Phillies, it could be a letdown game. The Eagles aren't focused on that. I think that that's kind of bogus, but definitely just from circumstance-wise of having to travel and playing the best quarterback and probably the best duo of wide receivers, because obviously Jefferson's the best wide receiver, but this is the best duo of wide receivers going to face. Definitely would be the biggest test for me so far this season.
Yeah, I'm just looking at an overhead shot of the stadium right now, and there is a lot of green there, a lot more green than blue. So it's definitely an Eagles takeover at in LA. So what'd you say? 31-24 was your score prediction?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sticking with that. I like that 24 number with the Rams, except I'm going with the Eagles 28-24. So they're just going to get the 4. They're going to cover. Even though I legally cannot bet, I would say that they're going to cover. But you can, if you need betting advice, you can go listen to the Gamblers R Us podcast, the brand new Gamblers R Us podcast on the Philly Sports Networks. But that's going to do it from us. Kickoff is coming up in just about a minute. So thank you guys for watching. Go like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all of our social medias. Check out Philly Sports at phillysportsports.com after the game for the post-game recap. Thank you for sponsoring. Use code Philly Sports. Get $20 off your first purchase. Thank you for watching. Go Birds!
Go Birds. Check us out tomorrow, 5:30 before the Phillies game.
Yes, sir. See you there. Go Birds and go Phils. Let's go.